She never craves the man she fully understands. She craves you only when you become the question she can't answer, the storm she can feel on her skin but can't predict. Every woman carries a secret hunger to be pulled toward a man whose inner world is darker, deeper and more dangerous than hers. Not violent but powerful, not chaotic but unreadable. A man whose silence carries more sexual weight than other men's compliments. She wants the man who looks at her like he knows something she doesn't. The man whose intentions she can feel but not decode. The man whose presence makes her body tense before she even admits she's aroused. Because when she can't decipher you, she starts imagining you. And imagination is where lust is born. Women talk about connection, but they obsess over mystery. They commit to comfort, but they ache for the man who makes them feel unsteady, exposed and alive. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be felt. Women don't lust after what they understand. They lust after what they can't categorize, what they can't secure, what they can't fully predict. A woman's attraction isn't logical, it's instinctive, emotional and deeply tied to the unknown. The moment she figures you out, her body relaxes, and so does her desire. But when she can't read you, when your silence carries intent she can't decode, that's when her mind begins to spiral and her desire starts to sharpen. Most men think women fall for clarity, for honesty, transparency, emotional openness. But female psychology is older than society's scripts. Evolution wired her to crave the man she can't domesticate, the man whose depth forces her into a state of heightened awareness. Unpredictability activates her arousal, mystery activates her imagination, ambiguity activates her chase. When a woman says, "There's just something about him," she isn't talking about looks, money or charm. She's talking about the tension of the unknown, the energetic darkness she senses beneath his calm. Women lust after men who feel like a world, not a checklist. A man with silence that makes her think. A man with eyes that make her wonder what he's capable of. A man whose presence feels like a locked door she can't help but want to open. Attraction for her is not a straight line. It's a loop of curiosity, uncertainty, and internal conflict. The more she has to guess, the more she starts to feel. The more she has to interpret, the more she begins to invest. And the more she has to chase your depth, the deeper her desire becomes. You don't win her body by giving her clarity. You ignite her lust by giving her something she cannot fully name. A woman rarely sees a man for who he actually is. She sees the version of him that fits her fantasy, or her fear. This is the core of female attraction, projection. The less she knows about you, the more space her mind has to build an erotic myth around you. And when your presence gives her nothing predictable to latch onto, she starts creating her own story about your depth, your confidence, your sexual intent. This is why mysterious men become magnetic. A woman projects her fantasies onto the man who carries emotional shadows. She imagines his dominance, his independence, his restraint. She fills his silence with her own desire, and when she can't fully decode you, she assumes you are the lover archetype, the man who moves with certainty, takes what he wants, and never explains himself. But projection doesn't just create desire, it triggers testing. Women test the men they can't decode. They tease, push, withdraw, escalate, and provoke. Not to destroy the mystery, but to see if it shatters under pressure. She wants to know if your depth is real or a mask, and the moment she feels she can't fully predict you, she becomes even more invested in trying. Uncertainty signals value, and hypergamy reacts instantly. If she can't mentally secure you, she assumes other women can't either, which elevates your sexual status in her mind. Preselection spikes her interest. Mystery magnifies it. Women don't seduce with clarity, they seduce with imagination, and the man she cannot understand becomes the canvas for all the impulses she pretends she doesn't have. Most men lose women not because they're unattractive, but because they become emotionally solved. The moment you make yourself fully available, fully predictable, and fully accessible, you transform from a man into a comfort object. And comfort might keep a relationship alive, but it kills desire. Women don't lust after comfort. They lust after tension, the emotional edge that makes her heart race and her mind wonder where she stands with you. But men, conditioned by society to be open, rush to expose every thought, every feeling, every insecurity, hoping it will create intimacy. Instead, it dissolves polarity. The more she understands you, the less she feels for you. A woman doesn't want a man who pours himself out like water. She wants a man who carries weight, emotional gravity, inner silence, restraint. But men make the fatal mistake of trying to reassure her constantly, trying to prove they're safe, reliable, predictable. In reality, this makes her body shut down. Predictability signals weakness. Excessive attention signals neediness. Emotional transparency signals dependence, and dependence suffocates attraction. Every time you tell her, "I just want you to know how much I care," every time you over-explain, every time you validate her unnecessarily, you strip yourself of the erotic uncertainty she subconsciously craves. You become the provider archetype, stable, comforting, but sexually unthreatening. And once she places you in that category, it's almost impossible for her to feel the raw, involuntary desire she once had. Women don't lose interest because they want something better. They lose interest because you stopped being the man they couldn't fully grasp. You stepped out of the unknown and into the light, and desire doesn't live in the light. It lives in the shadows you abandoned. There is a moment every man feels but rarely recognizes. The moment a woman stops looking at him with curiosity. Her eyes soften, her body relaxes, and something inside her quietly decides, "I already know him." That is the death of erotic tension, the death of mystery, the death of the masculine presence she once found intoxicating. When a woman fully understands you, she no longer experiences you. She manages you, she organizes you, she predicts you. And the man she can predict becomes the man she no longer desires. Women don't consciously do this. It's instinct. The female psyche is wired to categorize men for emotional safety. If she can map your psychology, she can control the relationship, but control costs her attraction. Desire requires a degree of fear. Not fear of harm, but fear of uncertainty. Fear of losing you, fear of not being enough, fear of not fully owning your attention. When she knows exactly how you'll react, when she knows exactly what to expect, that fear evaporates, and with it, her sexual appetite. Men make this worse by oversharing, over-explaining, and overexposing their inner world. They give away their triggers, their insecurities, their emotional map. She learns your patterns, your reactions, your predictable loops, and once she understands your entire code, she stops seeing you as a man with depth and starts seeing you as something closer to an appliance. Useful, loyal, sviuta, but emotionally and sexually flat. This is why women lose interest even when nothing went wrong. You didn't offend her, you didn't disappoint her, you simply became solvable. And solvable men don't awaken lust, they awaken convenience. She may still care about you, but she no longer craves you. Female desire lives in the unknown, and the moment she fully understands you, you cease to be unknown. Female desire is not gentle, it is not logical, polite, or consistent. It is chaotic, a psychological storm triggered by uncertainty, danger, curiosity, and the thrill of not knowing what a man might do next. Women don't fantasize about predictable men. They fantasize about the men who disturb their emotional balance, the men who make them feel things they can't rationalize. Mystery doesn't just attract a woman, it arouses her, because uncertainty spikes adrenaline, and adrenaline sharpens arousal. Evolution built this into her biology. For thousands of years, the man she couldn't fully understand was the man with higher genetic value. Unpredictability signaled strength, confidence, options, and social power. Predictability signaled dependency. Her body still responds to those ancient cues. When you become mysterious, her nervous system heightens. Her imagination intensifies. She starts replaying your words, analyzing your plants, decoding your reactions, and this obsessive loop amplifies her sexual interest. This is also why women use jealousy tests. When a woman isn't sure where she stands, she introduces emotional chaos to feel your depth. She'll pull away, go cold, get distant, or bring up other men, just to see if your frame cracks. If you react, she's disappointed. If you stay calm, she becomes more attracted. The man who can't be rattled becomes erotic in her eyes. Attention addiction plays a role too. A mysterious man refuses to feed her constant need for reassurance. He withholds validation, controls attention, and keeps his emotional energy selective. That restraint triggers something primitive inside her. She begins chasing the emotional high he refuses to hand out. Her arousal grows not because he gives more, but because he gives less. Women don't lust after certainty. They lust after the man who destabilizes their emotional equilibrium, the man whose mystery becomes her addiction. There is a specific type of man women lust after with no logic, no hesitation, and no moral filter, the lover archetype. He is the man who radiates sexual certainty, not because he is loud or aggressive, but because he moves through the world with a quiet, sovereign confidence. He does not ask for permission to exist. He does not negotiate for desire. He does not seek approval. His presence alone creates tension. Women sense it before he even speaks. He is not trying to be chosen, he chooses. The lover archetype is the man a woman cannot fully understand because his value does not come from her validation. His energy is inward, not outward. He is sexually self-contained, calm, disciplined, and emotionally controlled. He doesn't explain his intentions. He doesn't chase. He doesn't flood her with attention. He lets her feel the weight of his presence, the gravity of his silence, the sharpness of his gaze, and that restraint electrifies her. Women are not aroused by men who try. They are aroused by men who decide. His frame is unshakable. Tests don't move him. Her mood swings don't alter his center. Her provocations don't trigger him. She senses his depth but can't fully map it. She senses his desire but can't fully predict it. This is what makes him dangerous, not to her safety but to her control. She cannot domesticate him. She cannot own him. And that lack of ownership awakens the primal part of her that still craves a man she must earn. He is the man she imagines late at night, the man her body reacts to before her mind catches up, the man who makes her feel feminine without saying a word. She doesn't lust after him because he's perfect. She lusts after him because she can't contain him. A woman becomes obsessed with a man she cannot influence, and this is the essence of masculine psychological sovereignty. Most men collapse the moment a woman withdraws affection, shifts her tone, delays a reply, or shows interest in another option. Their emotions spike, their fear surfaces, and their entire frame bends around her approval. And in that moment, they lose the one thing female desire hinges on: internal dominance. A sovereign man is different. His emotional state does not belong to her. His sense of worth does not lean on her reactions. His identity does not tighten or crumble under her tests. He lives from the inside out, not from the outside in. Women feel this instantly. They feel it in the way he pauses before speaking, in the way he listens without needing to justify himself, in the way he gives attention as a choice, not as a survival instinct. This man is his own source of validation. He doesn't chase energy, he generates it. And that self-generated confidence makes him unpredictable, because his behavior is not controlled by her approval or her rejection. She cannot bribe him with affection, manipulate him with distance, or destabilize him with the jealousy. His calm is unbreakable. This is the man she trusts. This is the man she respects. But more importantly, this is the man she lusts for. Because sexual attraction is not about what you say or how you look. It's about the emotional gravity you carry. A sovereign man becomes a psychological event in her life. His presence has weight. His dominion has meaning. His boundaries have consequences. He feels like a world she wants to enter but can never fully conquer. She doesn't fantasize about controlling him. She fantasizes about being seen by him. Because a sovereign man sees without attachment, touches without need, and loves without losing himself. A woman doesn't just react to your words, she reacts to your presence. Your pacing, your stillness, your timing, your gaze, your withdrawal, your unpredictability. Attraction is not built through sentences, it's built through behavioral cues that signal dominance without effort. The men women lust after move differently. They speak less. They observe more. They enter a room like they already own the space. Their posture says more than their compliments ever could. Their silence carries more heat than another man's entire script. Women are hypersensitive to subtle male behavior because their biology depends on reading microsignals. She watches how you react to pressure. She notices whether your eyes wander. She studies your confidence under tension. She tests your emotional center. Every gesture, every pause, every shift in tone communicates who you are more loudly than your words. When your behavior communicates depth, restraint, self-control, and subtle sexual dominance, her body reacts before she consciously processes it. This is why withdrawing at the right moment can spike her attraction harder than pursuing. When you pull your attention back, not out of need, not out of fear, but out of calm self-possession, she feels the loss instantly. The shift forces her to recalibrate. She replays the interaction. She imagines your thoughts. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, and why you're so composed. That uncertainty becomes arousal. And escalation works the same way. Slow, controlled, intentional, not overeager, not performative. When you lean in just an inch, pause, let the tension breathe, that space becomes erotic. When you touch lightly, confidently, without hesitation, her nervous system lights up. When your words are few but precise, she feels them in places she won't admit. Women lust after men who communicate sexuality through presence, not persuasion, through tension, not explanation, through calm dominance, not rehearsed charm. When your behavior is aligned with sovereignty, she can't stop imagining you, because you become the only emotional frequency she can't predict. To become the man women lust after, not occasionally, but relentlessly, you must become unsolvable. Not confusing, not chaotic, not performatively mysterious, but genuinely deep, disciplined, and emotionally ungraspable. The unsolvable man is not hiding anything. He simply carries more within him than the world can easily decode. He has layers. He has principles. He has silence that means something. He has a mind that doesn't spill itself just because someone asks. Women feel this immediately. They sense that his internal world is vast and that they will never fully own it. The unsolvable man doesn't react. He evaluates. He doesn't rush to fill silence. He lets patience test the room. He doesn't expose his insecurities to earn connection. He processes them privately. His boundaries are clean. His standards are uncompromising. His attention is selective. And all of this makes him rare because he is the opposite of the modern man trained to overshare, over-explain and over-pursue. To her, this man feels like a book she can open but never finish. Each interaction reveals something new yet leaves something untouched. When she thinks she understands him, he reveals a depth that destabilizes her certainty. When she believes she has his full attention, he shifts his focus back to his mission. When she tries to test him, she discovers he doesn't bend, and that calm resistance becomes erotic. The unsolvable man doesn't chase validation for years, he creates his own. He doesn't chase women because women chase the emotional gravity he radiates. He doesn't fear losing people because he's already complete without them. His mystery is not an act. It is a byproduct of being a man who knows who he is and refuses to dilute it. She can touch his body, she can enjoy his presence, but she can never fully own his mind, and that is what binds her to him. When you step back and look at everything, one truth rises above all the others. Women don't lust after the man they fully understand. They lust after the man they can feel. The man whose presence makes her chest tighten a little. The man whose silence makes her imagine more than you say. The man who keeps his emotional center no matter how she tests him. The man who reveals just enough to spark desire, yet never enough for her to claim his mind. This is the man she thinks about when she's alone. The man she compares every partner to without admitting it. The man whose name stays buried in her memory because his energy left a wound she didn't want to heal. Your power never comes from chasing her. It comes from becoming the gravity she can't walk away from. The sovereign man, the disciplined man, the man whose mission stands above validation. When your identity is rooted within yourself, your presence becomes unpredictable, undeniable, and unforgettable. And women feel that difference instantly. They can touch your body, enjoy your company, obsess over your attention, but they can never fully decode you. And that is what keeps their desire alive. You don't chase lust, lust bends toward you.